against multiple variants. So what we really have now are three options within the arena of monoclonal antibodies. Something that's important for physicians to know that there is an important option for treating people early to prevent them from going to the hospital. This has been granted an EUA, so it's available for use, and we encourage physicians to at least consider this possibility as part of your therapeutic armamentarium. I'll stop there and back to you, Jeff.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Fauci. Why don't we now open it up for a few questions?
Thanks, everybody. And we're running very short on time, so we'll just take a couple of questions. Please keep to one question and on topic. First, Josh Wingrove at Bloomberg.
Hi there. Thank you for doing this. Can you say...
Facilitate questions?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Josh.
Great. Jeff, can you speak a little bit to which specific vaccines will be sent in the 25 million? I assume it's safe to say that the AstraZeneca doses remain under review.
Okay, I think we're working on some technical issues, and hopefully we're able to open it up for questions soon.
Jeff, let me know if you can hear me, please.
Yes.
Great. I was just wondering if you can say which vaccines in particular will be sent among the 25 million. I assume that the AstraZeneca doses remain under review and are not available. Have you decided or sorted which will be the 25 million?
Good question, and thank you for the question. That is correct. The AstraZeneca doses, the 60 million AstraZeneca doses, are awaiting FDA concurrence. So the 25 million will be comprised of the three approved, EUA approved, authorized vaccines, some combination of Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, and Moderna.
Caitlin Collins.
Thanks so much, Jeff. I see this as part of this partnership with COVAX. My question is, does the U.S. still have a final say in where the doses COVAX go, or is it COVAX making that decision? And then just to follow, when will these 25 million be distributed? And are you still confident the remaining 55 will be out by the end of June?
Okay, so Jake, why don't I hand it to you on the first COVAX question?
Whether the U.S. still has final say on where the vaccines go. Jeff, was that the question?
Yes.
Question on COVAX. Do you want to handle that? And then I'll handle the second piece.
We may be having some audio issues here, but as I understand it, the question was whether the United States still has the final say as to where the doses go that are being shared through COVAX. And the answer is that the U.S. working with COVAX has taken COVAX's list of countries, the doses that are allocated to each of those countries, and we, the United States, have made selections against that list in coordination with them so that we will retain the say in terms of where they go. Now, in the case of the African Union, we are sharing with the African Union, who will ultimately be making the determinations about how to allocate within Africa. And in the case of the Caribbean, we'll be working closely with CARPA, the public health authority in the Caribbean, who will be making some of the key determinations for where the doses are allocated. But ultimately, the United States will have the authority to say the doses are going here as opposed to there, but that will be done in very close consultation and partnership with COVAX, and crucially, according to COVAX's formula, and then using the COVAX logistics capacity and delivery capacity to ensure that these doses actually translate into shots in arms that help save people's lives.
So on the second part of the question, we are already sharing doses. Less than 2 weeks ago, the president announced plans to share doses with Korea. As I mentioned earlier, those doses are in flight now. We've announced plans to share about 13% of the vaccines produced for the US by the end of June. That's the most of any nation, and that's the 80 million. So over the coming weeks, we'll work to get those doses to countries and get shots in arms as soon as possible. As we do so, we'll work through logistics like medical agencies coordinating to ensure safety and regulatory information to share, supply teams to ensure that we have the necessary needles, syringes, and alcohol pads, transportation teams to ensure proper temperature storage, prevent breakage, and ensure the vaccine immediately clears customs. So the process to export the first 25 million is underway in coordination with foreign governments. And the president has committed, as we talked about earlier, to sharing 80 million doses by the end of June, and we will deliver on the president's commitment of 80 million doses by the end of June.
All right, last question, and sorry for the technical challenges. Cheryl at New York Times.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I wondered if you could be a little bit more specific about the 25% of the doses that you are reserving for, immediate use, the flexible doses. Where are those doses going?
Over to Jake.
Okay. Technical difficulties persist, but the answer to the question of where the 25% of doses are going is we will lay out more specifically the precise destination of those. The judgment we make about where those go is a combination of where there are specific urgent situations, where partner countries are facing crises. And so some examples of that include a portion of those doses will go to India, which is obviously dealt with a surge. And we've seen the gripping images coming from that country. Some of them will go to the West Bank and Gaza, which has just obviously endured its own form of crisis over the course of the past month. And then there will be other destinations for the remaining doses, and we will lay that all out as those doses are prepared and then shipped.
Next question.
We'll do one more question to Zeke at AP.
Thanks you all for doing this. Could you say, Jeff, where the doses are coming from? Are they coming from states' excess inventory, or the pool of federal supply right now, or directly from the manufacturers? Number one, and then for Jake, could you explain how this is consistent with the president's sort of guidance that that there would be no strings attached to these vaccines if the U.S. is still maintaining ultimate say-so about where these doses go, and reserving all these doses for bilateral partners, such as giving to allied troops, rather than why not just give it all to COVAX to the world to be shared where it's needed immediately?
So on the first question, the 25 million doses are coming from the federal pool of supply. The doses that are at the states level, those states have ordered those doses, and we're working with those states to administer shots in arms so that the millions of Americans who are not yet vaccinated can get vaccinated as soon as possible. Jake, over to you.
Sure. So first and critically, the United States is not asking anything of any country to whom we're giving doses. We're not seeking to extract concessions. We're not extorting. We're not imposing conditions the way that other countries who are providing doses are doing. We are doing none of those things. These are doses that are being given, donated, free and clear to these countries for the sole purpose of improving the public health situation and helping end the pandemic. The Korea situation is unique, as the president said when President Moon visited. The animating purpose behind that is actually about the protection of American forces and the forces who serve alongside American forces, the Korean troops who are standing shoulder to shoulder with us in that country. So it is a unique case, and the kind of unique case for which we want to retain some flexibility, which is why we're giving the majority, the 75% or more of our doses through COVAX, but maintaining the capacity to allocate doses outside the COVAX formula as necessary. Korea is one case of that. The West Bank and Gaza, as I mentioned, is another case where we're not asking anything of the people of Gaza or the West Bank, but we feel that given what they are dealing with in the situation on the ground there, it is only right and proper and good for the United States to actually allocate some doses to that country. The same is true with some of the other allocations that we will make. The president made a commitment to ensure that India received doses and giving them not just an allocation under the regional portion of this through COVAX, but an additional allocation from our discretionary portion was something that he wanted to do. Again, the basic bottom line on this is that the United States is not doing this as some kind of back and forth deal where we're getting something for what we're giving. We are giving these for a single purpose. It is the purpose of ending this pandemic, and we are doing so in a way consistent, we believe very strongly, with the public health requirements that will help hasten the end of the COVID-19 pandemic.
We have time for one more question.
All right, we'll keep going. Let's just go to Ouija for CBS.
Thank you so much. My question is actually for Dr. Walensky. As you launch this big push for vaccinations ahead of July 4th, and this morning on CBS, you listed several reasons for why people may not be getting vaccinated yet. I'm wondering if you are making educated guesses or if you have any data and figures to show why some people are still holding out, especially in the South where rates are relatively low.
The vaccines has grown across time as people have neighbors and friends and faith leaders and doctors who have been vaccinated and advise them on their own decision. And the important thing here is that the most trusted messengers are local messengers, including doctors and faith leaders. So we need to bring the vaccines to where people are and answer the questions that people have. And we are confident that more and more people will get vaccinated leading up to the 4th of July. Should we try to do one more question, Kevin?
I think we got to wrap up, but thank you, Jeff. Jeff, we can wrap up. We will wrap up now.
I don't know if people can hear me. I apologize for the technical difficulties. I think we should probably end at this point and look forward to follow-up questions and to briefing again next week. Thank you.
But you did hear them emphasize the point that as our